Cai Yan's passive is shown at the bottom of the screen and occurs every 10 seconds. When it's on cooldown, it'll be grayed out. It gives her a speed and a health boost whenever she gets hit by an enemy mob or turret damage. And I like to pair it with skill 1 for that extra speed boost and health. Cai Yan's first skill is an area-wide healing effect. It also gives her a speed boost as well and works really well with her passive to give herself an extra boost of healing as well as healing her allies. Her second skill is the crowd control skill that stuns enemy targets, bounces between enemies up to 6 times and max of 2 per target. The consecutive hits will be 25% less than the first hit in both damage and in crowd control. I really like to use this skill for starting team fights and retreating from team fights as well. It's super versatile. Also really annoying for the enemy team as it bounces between minions and jungle monsters, which makes it really hard to hide from. Cai Yan's ultimate recovers the health of the ally with the lowest health, so it's really good in team fights to keep your backline alive. It also gives that ally extra magical and physical defense, which furthers in helping them stay alive during the team fight. I really recommend using this a little bit earlier just so they can gain that extra defense to help keep them alive. You can also use skill 1 in conjunction for extra healing. This is a Grandmaster 35-star ranked match replay, and I always like to start off my matches by checking the menu for common skills. This helps us to predict the flow of the battle. Whether enemies will flash in or purify crowd control skill will really depend on their common skills. I learned skill 2 as Cai Yan so that I can help allies clear minion waves faster. I recommend learning skill 2 first, and then from level 2 onwards prioritizing skill 1 and your ultimate. Over here, I do notice that the marksman is in a 2v1 in the top lane, so I rush over to help her and make sure she can clear the minions. Using passive here can help me get on the lane a bit faster. Farming is a crucial part of Honor of Kings, and it is important to farm efficiently. There are many resources such as jungle monsters throughout the map that you can farm and take down, and this is a great way to gain advantages over your enemies. Your minions are a primary source of farm for your team, and these are the little red and blue soldiers walking up each lane. Making sure your allies are nearby while clearing minions is crucial for the growth of your team, as solo clearing minion waves mean that your allies are not receiving that wave of economy. And also, remember that farming passively can be a better way to gain an advantage than to force a kill. And I did make a little bit of a mistake here with my positioning, so I did miss my skill 2 because it was blocked by the jungle mob. Positioning is also super important in a game like this, so always be aware of where you're standing if you are clearing vision for your teammates, as well as try not to take too much damage because you're always more useful alive. Another detail as a support is trying to keep the minions out of the turret if your teammates can make it there in time. This is just so they can get as much farm as possible. And whenever you do notice the enemies leaving your lane, try to warn your allies by pointing it out on the map like so. I was a little bit too late here and our mage was caught a little bit off guard. But yeah, at least try to give the warning. And remember, mistakes happen. It's okay. When you're starting out, you definitely do make a lot more mistakes than once you're more experienced. If people are gonna be mean about that, then just ignore them, mute your mic, mute the speaker, mute the chat, do whatever you need to do. And remember that playing a game is to make yourself happy. Wow, so inspirational. Unfortunately, our mage was caught off guard by the enemy jungler and taken down. And a good reference for when the enemy jungler is likely to appear is by watching your own jungler. Once your own jungler has finished clearing the jungle and is on their way to assist, the enemy is most likely doing the same. During this time, make sure to stay under the turret and checking brushes if it's safe to do so. And a little tip for picking Cai Yan in your lineup. You can notice she's a very good sustain type support, but she also has no movement skills, and this makes her really vulnerable to burst damage, so do be aware of that. This also means she's not very compatible with allies that have high mobility such as Arlie and Jing, since she cannot keep up with their team fights. And over here, I accidentally didn't notice the enemy mage coming up to assist. Bit of an oopsie on my end, but yeah, things happen, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And the enemy was very prompt in their assist over here, and a lot of us did have problems of positioning in this match. Such as when the enemy lamp came over, we kind of stood a bit too far and I didn't use my purify in time, which is a bit of a mistake. But again, things happen. And over here, I was just confirming that our mage did have her ultimate, and I was like, why did you not use your ultimate? It's okay, things happen. And a good way to see if an ally has ultimate is the little green triangle above their icon. And after I revived, I try my best to get on lane as fast as possible since we are a bit disadvantaged and the enemy support and marksman is pushing quite aggressively. And to make up for our disadvantage, it was just a lot of farming, so here's a montage. And this moment over here is an example of positioning error, which is something you don't want to do, but the marksman and I possibly pushed a bit too far and we were called out by the enemy and got comboed out. And a good thing to notice here is that the enemy did use their Purify, which is their common skill, and that allowed them to deal more damage and to get away safely. Again, which is why checking for common skills is really important. Another important thing to take note of is that Cai Yan's healing scales off of her magical damage, so remember to buy items like Savan's Wrath to increase her healing. She also does need items to increase her health and defense so she can survive in team fights. On that note, it's time for another farming montage. Over here, noticing the enemy coming to invade jungle, we work together to pincer attack the invaders by heading towards their retreating route. Using the healing of my skill 1 and 3 plus crowd control from my skill 2, we're able to take down the invading jungler. My common skill Purify also provided a crucial escape from enemy control, and in higher ranks, targeted use of common skills is very important. In the beginning, however, you're unable to see enemy lineups, so heal is the default choice for Cai Yan. We're still a little bit disadvantaged here, but I believe we can turn this match around.
See, the enemy has to protect 8 turrets, while we only have to protect 6. Obviously, we have the advantage.
And this moment here shows a lot of Cai Yan's skills. The crowd control bounces of skill 2 plus a speed and health boost of her passive and skill 1 can really come in clutch to save herself or allies. I was lucky here and my nearby allies did help to deter the enemy pursuit. During the mid and late game when both sides have turrets down, there is lots of blind spots across the map. This makes it easy for ambushes from enemies who are hidden in the brushes, and it is important as a support to check these brushes when your team is walking by. Of course, this doesn't mean you're able to prevent ambushes 100% of the time, especially when an ally is alone.
Those brushes can be super deadly. Be really careful, guys.
And remember again that Cai Yan has no movement skills. She's super susceptible to ambushes, so make sure you're avoiding brushes when possible and using skill 2 to check if you're unsure if there's an enemy or not. Walking directly into a bush could be really fatal for her, so yeah, be really careful. When enemy has advantage, we play passively. This means for Cai Yan to keep allies in good condition with your heals and using her skill 2 to keep opponents at bay. Don't push aggressively, as you being taken down puts allies at risk. During team fights, at opportune moments, use your ultimate when you or your allies are around half health, as using your ultimate too early means there isn't enough time for the healing to take effect. As a sustained support, Cai Yan can help allies secure key objectives after a team fight. This could be turrets, overlord, or tyrants, and it's one of her strengths, so make sure you are keeping up with your team and healing your allies. Also remember, this is a turret pushing game. Sometimes it isn't all about taking down the enemy. Putting pressure on their lanes is a great way to gain an advantage. As with most supports, however, Cai Yan isn't fast at pushing turrets. What she can do is to clear vision for allies. You do this by standing in a bush near the turret and keeping an eye on the mini-map. You can also do this with key objectives such as the Tyrant or the Overlord. Stand by a bush where the enemy is likely to attack and clear vision for your allies. One more interesting quirk of Cai Yan's skill set is her ability to heal allied minions. If it's safe to do so, you can heal the minions with your allies and allow them to survive longer, and they will aid your team with pushing more turrets. And once again, which I cannot stress enough, is to make sure that you're also in a safe position yourself. Remember as well, certain equipment like Venomous Staff, Mortal Punisher, and Blazing Cape reduces Cai Yan's healing output. Heroes such as Naja and Musashi also have skills that counter sustain heroes like Cai Yan. Cai Yan truly shines in the mid to late game when she has Holy Grail and Savan's Wrath. In the early game, I like to have Star Spring as my support item to help her recover more health, as well as making sure she has enough mana. Mana is indicated by the blue bar underneath your health bar, and each of Cai Yan's skills uses mana. In the early game, when she doesn't have Holy Grail, it is really important to manage how much mana she is using. Try to save recovery skills for allies on low health, and using Cai Yan's passive to recover her own health. And if you're out of mana, please recall home to recover so you can still use your skills. And once you have Holy Grail in the mid game, I would personally recommend changing the support item to Redemption for that extra shield. Again, these support items will change depending on your lineup and the flow of battle, and personal playstyle also has a big part as well, so use your items that fit your playstyle. And on an ending note, I really recommend that you build Cai Yan with both magical and defense items. Building her with purely magical items means she's a bit too squishy to be viable in team fights, and building her on pure defense lowers much of her healing output. A good balance of the two is what I use and what I recommend, and items like Augur's Word with both additional health and magical attack is very suitable for heroes like Cai Yan.
Let's freaking go! I didn't even think we were gonna win that, but you know what? Teammates. I love good teammates.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you really enjoyed it. And if you have any other heroes you'd like to see a guide on, please let me know. I also have the more detailed Cai Yan guide down in the description. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.